I think one of the things on the list is like the negative implications of Bitcoin, which like never get talked about. And I think the one big negative implication of Bitcoin, and I don't know if it's a negative or a positive. That was a nice header.
That was a great header. What a day.
I don't know if it's a negative or a positive, but something we never talk about with Bitcoin is that we turned on an unstoppable machine. It's a machine that we can't turn off.
Yeah.
We've never done that before. I don't know in the history of humanity we've ever had a machine that can't be turned off.
It's an organism.
Right.
That's growing.
Yeah. And in some senses, I've said this before, but I feel that Bitcoin is a narrow yet powerful AI. Are you familiar with this thought experiment?
Tell me. Which one?
So it's by Bostrom, the same guy who created simulation theory. I think it comes from the book Superintelligence. And basically, the thought experiment is of a paperclip maximizer. And a paperclip maximizer is a narrow AI. It has one function. That function is to create paperclips. But it's also powerful. So it's not a general AI. Can't think and feel. It doesn't have motives. It just creates paperclips. But it has too much power, so it ends up turning the entire universe into paperclips. And in some sense, I think that Bitcoin is a narrow yet powerful AI that basically turns the entire world into Bitcoin. I mean, look at me. What the fuck am I doing here? So a random Japanese guy releases free code on the internet, and now I'm here in Nashville with you, a random British guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? Sometimes
who owns a football team?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's happening? I'm just like being sucked into this vortex. I basically like become 100% Bitcoin at this point. You know,
we were with Harry Suddock the other day, and
I love Harry. By the way, Harry's the best.
Harry is the best. We were with him in New York, and we made a show, and afterwards we went to dinner, and it was me, Harry, and Jeremy, and we were talking about. He said Bitcoin's a black hole.
Yes,
and I was like, yeah, but I actually think Bitcoin is the singularity.
Yeah.
And so like we were kind of like discussing this idea, and we ended up dumping the show and like recording 2 days later and re-recording and discussing the idea of the singularity. Is it like it eats up all this stuff, right? You know, and you can think of it on a personal micro level or on a macro level. Like you said, look, 5 years ago, my life was a fucking shit show. I didn't know what I was going to do. I started a podcast, and here I am now sat with you, and I own a football team, and I make films, and I've interviewed a president. Like all these things that have come out of it.
Yeah.
That's my micro level. On a macro level, there are a bunch of people in Bedford who are learning about this new form of money because there's a football team.
Yeah.
There's like a village in El Zonte. There's a lake in Guatemala. There's all these things like propping up, and what's happening is they're like Bitcoin is like this black hole that's eating everything, and like ultimately it's like this singularity.
It's a paperclip maximizer. The entire world is becoming Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You are Bitcoin. I am Bitcoin now. Like we have just become this thing. Like it feels like sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and the Bitcoin price has moved. Why am I waking up in the middle of the night knowing that the Bitcoin price has moved? It's because my fucking central nervous system is attached to this thing. I stare at this thing all day long. So even when I'm asleep and literally unconscious, my brain is like, ugh. Things are happening in Bitcoin. Must wake up. You know what I mean? Like,
but think how much more aggressive it's been. So think 2010, Bitcoin's been around for about a year. You know, it's a tiny. Like if it's a black hole, it's tiny, and like
tiny.
You have to get to that event horizon. It's difficult because you had to be
not sucking you in yet.
No, you had to be in weird places on the internet. You had to be on Slashdot in 2011, or you had to be on like some.
You have to be trying to buy drugs on the subreddit.
Well, no, but even pre that, and then where we're at now is like everyone's heard of it.
Yeah,
you know, everyone's aware of it. It's not like nobody had heard of it then. You know, a few people. Now everyone's heard of it. As it starts eating up more things, the energy sector, the finance section, things start blowing up. Like you can't avoid it anymore. All these people are on Twitter writing fucking essays about why Bitcoin's terrible. In the end, it's going to eat them.
Yeah,
it's going to swallow them up.
Yeah,
and so so we made this show where we're like Bitcoin is the singularity.
By the way, I fully agree with that entirely.
Yeah,
like there is a post Bitcoin world that is entirely different than the Bitcoin world that we live in now. It's like
I don't think we know fully what that is.
Well, we
hope for the best.
Just like the early internet, we have a lot of very utopian ideas around what it is, and I expect us to all look like fucking morons in the intervening decades.
Yeah.
But it's hard to not be super excited about what it brings. And for me, it's like one of the negatives that Bitcoin could bring is like straight up feudalism. I don't like to think that thought.
No, but like, you're entirely right.
It's a negative, and I don't. Yeah. But one of the positives is like if we, fix malinvestment in the world, essentially we could make the world like 2% better per year compounded. So let's say fiat makes the world 2% worse per year compounded. We're at the end of like 50 some odd years of that. And we're looking around and we're like, man, things are shit.
Yeah, everything's fucked.
Whereas if we get Bitcoin, the ball rolls in the opposite direction. We make things 2% better. Probably takes us 50 years to get back to even where what we lost. So we like lost 100 years in sum total, right? And then after that, we're back on the upswing again and things are going great. And then as humans always do, we'll find a way to fuck it up. Not us, but our grandchildren will fuck it up, because that's what we do when things are too good. Like think about being in heaven.
Good times.
Think about being in heaven. Do you actually want to be in heaven? You wake up and every day is fucking perfect. After a while, you would be like, this sucks. This is a prison. I want to go to fucking hell. That's what it is to be human, And so even if Bitcoin is utopian, and I think it is.
Fuck these grapes.
Humans are not utopians, and humans will do terrible, shitty things with this tool. Like we do terrible, shitty things with every tool.
Yeah, but like maybe there's limitations now to the shitty things we can do with this tool.
Yeah,
because the incentive structure is... It's not so much how it's designed, how it's just evolved to be. The incentive structure is that you can't get out of it. It's like the miners. They have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
They can't be negative. They can't fuck with the system because it's a waste of money for them. They have to, they want their block reward. We can't fuck with this.
No, that's true.
So therefore it's like maybe.
But here's the problem is like we know that. And eventually that's going to be culture. That's going to, when Bitcoin eats the world, the idea that we can't fuck with the rules is going to be the default. That's the dogmatism of, 100 years from now.
Someone's going to try and fuck with the rules.
Somebody's going to come along and be like, you know what?
We need to fuck with the rules.
I think we should fuck with the rules, And once they get enough steam for that idea, they will. Like, ultimately. I don't know if it takes 300 years, 1,000 years, whatever, but like, people are going to fuck up this. In the long run, Bitcoin will have been a story. Talk about the personalities in Bitcoin and all the influencers and the technical guys and everybody. Like in the long run, Bitcoin will have been a story about when a bunch of imperfect humans met a perfect machine and what happened, right? That's the story of Bitcoin.